What's going on is Anton from antondaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Before we get started with the video, I want to let y'all know that this is sponsored by Teach Henley. 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I would never, ever, ever pitch to you guys or be sponsored by something that I do not love, appreciate, and use myself. It is a phenomenal product. Ladies, get it for the fellas. Fellas, don't wait for the ladies to get it for you. That link is down in the description. Also, we got the meetup, the Patreon meetup on the 27th of July in Houston. It's going to be lit. You cannot get in unless you're a bag chaser. The link to the bag chasers is in the description. And we got Stock Club coming up on Thursday, and we got some exclusive videos in order to help you guys get to the bag and get to the money. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Without further ado, let's get into it.
So let me tell y'all how I went on a date and found out he was a Uber driver. So I met this man on Instagram, right? So I met him. We started chit-chatting in DM, typical conversation. So then I see my friend is following him. So, of course, I send his Instagram to my homegirl. And I'm like, sis, do you know him? And she was like, I'm not quite sure. He might have been my Uber driver. And I'm like, huh? So then I'm like, you sure?
Why do women jump online in their pajamas and in a bonnet? I don't understand that. That's just a small little pet peeve of mine. I am going to let her finish the video. Hopefully I don't have to stop it in between because, my thoughts are a little bit scatterbrained and I don't want to forget stuff as I watch it. And so that's why I would stop the video in the middle. I'm definitely going to link back to the content creator because whether I agree with them or not, I always want to make sure that I give credit where credit is due. So that link will be down in the description. But let me continue. You already know I don't agree with the idea of linking up with people just purely based off of DMs. You don't even know who the person is that you're dealing with. You don't get the full body picture. You don't know their personality. You don't know whether or not y'all vibe. Y'all not even probably supposed to be in the same spaces and places. People start to get recommended based off of their algorithm and stuff. I don't agree with it. If you want to use your DMs and stuff or Instagram in order to reach out to the person or have a non-evasive conversation without having to share your phone number if you meet them in person, that's a whole nother conversation. But let me get back to her story, man.
Because in my head, I'm like, why would you follow your Uber driver? And then she came back and was like, actually, I don't know. I'm not sure. I met a lot of people this weekend, so it's a possibility he's not my Uber driver. So I'm like, okay, cool. And of course, I didn't think nothing of it because I'm like, why would you be following your Uber driver? So yeah. So then we go on a date. We vibing, y'all. I mean, this is the first guy I've actually went on a date with since I moved to Atlanta. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm really vibing with him. I got a connection with him. I'm interested in going on another date. So I asked him, what do you do? He says he's a serial entrepreneur. So I'm like, okay, but what?
Let's stop there. So you finally met somebody that got a good personality. They vibing with you. You having a good time. You went on a date with him. He not even asking you to go 50-50 like a lot of guys that's happening or that's playing that whole dating game in 2024 and beyond and stuff like that. So you finally met a guy in Atlanta that you like, that you vibing with, that you meet up with, that didn't catfish you, that actually have a job. And I don't even agree with the whole what you do for a living. I tell guys all the time, make sure that you downplay what you do for a living 100% of the time. As a matter of fact, if you going on a date and you make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, if you make $100,000 a year, you make $70,000 a year, keep it G. Just be like, yo, I'm an Uber driver. Or, you know what I'm saying? I just do maintenance at an apartment complex. I just be making up anything off the top of my head that I be recommended that guys say because you want people to be with you for the right reasons. You don't want people to be with you just because they see that you can do something for them or they can leapfrog off of you or you can teach them something. What you going to do for me? And so it's just not an organic thing. People don't love each other anymore. People don't have true adoration or appreciation for the fact that somebody is just being your friend. People are willing to cut you off for what you do for a living and you've never even offended them. Now, if you was out here moving in these streets, right pocket full of pink 50s, left pocket full of blues in it, then I guarantee you they're going to stick around because money make the world shake and money make these hoes drop their panties. That's just a fact. And that's not in relation to her. I'm speaking to her point specifically. But I don't understand what's wrong with a guy doing an honest day's work. Real talk. Like if I was I don't care how much money I make. You know, Time Dog, get to the bag. But I don't care how much money I make. I still am in corporate America. If I show y'all right now, literally, I'm online in corporate America right there. And I'm a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? I've shown y'all my bags and what my deposits are. I make well over $100,000 a month. And guess what? I'm not missing out on no bags. If I have the capacity to be able to do it and it does not affect what I got going on over here, then I'm 100% going to go and get that bag. If I'm a dude and I'm working full time, Anton from antondaniels.com today, don't think that for 1 second, and I may be having a corporate job over here, but I got capacity to be able to go and get that second job over there. I don't care if I'm an overnight stocker at Kroger's or Publix. I don't care if I got a DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever. If I could leverage that money in order to be able to pour it into other things, or even if that's my primary position. I know guys that drive Uber, black trucking it up, and gross over $150,000 a year. That's a fact. I've coached them. I've seen their numbers. I know guys that drive Uber and go and hustle and make over $150,000 a year. And this just shows you the sentiment. Just yesterday, we had a woman where I did a review video where she was saying the standards of black man is so trash and all of this. Okay, so now you got a guy that is grinding and hustling and going and getting it, and he's getting it legally. It don't matter whether or not, listen, I don't care if you're a janitor. I don't care if you're an Uber driver. I don't care if you're a social engineer. I don't care if you're an influencer. I don't care what you do. As long as you hustling and you going to get it in order to support yourself and you ain't asking nobody for nothing, should nobody have no conversation about what you're going to get and what you're doing for a living? Do you like him? Do you love him? Do he vibe with you? Is he asking you for anything? Is he a good person? Does he have good character? Do we go to church? We don't have none of those conversations. The conversations is always pressed. And see, this is why I didn't want to stop the video in the middle, because I wanted to let her finish. The conversations is always pressed on what you do for a living. That is so shallow and short-sighted. I'm going to let the whole video play. I promise you, no matter whether I want to stop it or not, I'm letting the whole video play. As a matter of fact, I'm going to rewind it and we're going to get to it.
Oh, typical conversation. So then I see my friend is following him. So, of course, I send his Instagram to my homegirl. And I'm like, sis, do you know him? And she was like, I'm not quite sure. He might have been my Uber driver. And I'm like, huh? So then I'm like, you sure? Because in my head, I'm like, why would you follow your Uber driver? And then she came back and was like, actually, I don't know. People. I'm not sure.
Why would you follow your Uber driver?
I met a lot of people this weekend, so it's a possibility he's not my Uber driver. So I'm like,
okay,
Uber. Cool. And of course, I didn't think none of it because I'm like, why would you be following your Uber driver? So, yeah. So then we go on a date. Bro. We vibing, y'all. I mean, this is the first guy I've actually went on a date with since I moved to Atlanta, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm really vibing with him. I got a connection with him. I'm interested in going on another date. So I asked him, what do you do? He says he's a serial entrepreneur. So I'm like, okay, but what do you do? Mm-hmm. So then he tells me that he had to start a business with his friend, and they track the wealth of black people. So I'm like, okay, that didn't sound like any money for real. So I'm like, okay, so what else do you do? So then he starts to tell me what he used to do, how he used to own a dispensary and used to. And I said, okay, but what do you do now? Men, stop telling us what you used to do. If you ain't got it now, we don't care. We don't care.
I see why dudes be going in on these tattered pajamas. And they start addressing stuff and all of this attitude and this ignorance and this bad mouthing and talking.
So then he tells me that's it. So then I look at him.
And then they're going to go on here and start talking about
you. You drive Uber? And I could tell it like really effed him up because he was not expecting it. Because of course you a serial entrepreneur, but you did not name that you drive Uber. So he was like, yeah, sometimes. Now, I know y'all gonna drag me in the comments, and I don't give up. But y'all, I'm not dating no Uber driver. And let's not forget, he is 48. Think on that. Now, I'm 33. I'm not dating a 48-year-old Uber driver. Like, I'm just not doing it.
He dodged the bullet.
Like,
you dodged the bullet, my man.
Older men, because they're more established, they're more settled. No, I'm not building with no man that's 48. You're basically 50. So we go to the next spot, and I had already said yes before I found out I was an Uber driver. So of course, like my whole demeanor is totally different at the second spot.
Of course it is.
And
All based off of how much money you make, fellas. Her whole demeanor changed is based off of the bag that she thought that she was going to be able to get out of you.
I'm not really saying anything. I'm really ready to go home, baby. He was doing all the talking. Then he brought it up again. Was like, "Have we met before? Like,
I
how you
would've
know I
just
drove
dipped,
Uber?"
bro.
And I'm just like, "Oh,
Hey, this is over.
I just
Ain't nothing
know."
else for us to
So at
talk
that point,
about.
I'm no longer interested. But you know, it is what it is. So another time he tries to take me out there.
Check,
I think
please.
that a few days later, and I'm not the person to ghost people because I don't like when people try to ghost me. I've been ghosted twice, and it's not a good feeling. So I basically tell him while we on the phone, I was like, you know, we was vibing, we was cooling, and you know, we had a good day. But I ain't gonna lie, when you told me you was the Uber driver, it really effed me up. It did. And I told him it effed me up, and you know, I'm
So
used to dating
ghetto.
older men that got their stuff together, that's more established, somebody I can learn from. And I said that just took me off guard.
It's nothing else to talk about, man. Listen, when a woman is like that, because we can hold her accountable all we want, right? We can say that this mentality is short sighted. We know that. I already went on that. I think that the bigger thing that we need to really maybe capture is this is not a bad thing. When a woman is like this, it's a reason why they're 33 and single. Okay? 33 and still having a 21-year-old's mentality, maybe even a 20-year-old's mentality. You're dodging bullets. When a woman acts like that, or they reject you, or they say what they don't want to do, don't press her, don't send for her, don't try to chase her. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. You dodged the bullet, my guy. A woman that was going to drain you, that had no value to add to you, that talks negatively about you and is willing to go online and talk about who you are, knowing that it's people that's around her that's also associated with you, that can tie you into the story and is willing to throw the business out there, all for a TikTok, is not somebody that you want to be associated with anyway. I'm curious as to what you guys think. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Again, Teej Henley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off of life. That link is in the description. Make sure y'all tap in. I absolutely want to hear what y'all got to say. I'm curious as to what you guys think. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace, man.